think this work. And so they know a hell of a lot more about their work than you will ever know, especially in 3 to 4 weeks. So know exactly coming into it what you offer and know what they offer. Now this doesn't mean to say that you want to come in kind of feeling bad about yourself and feeling inferior. The point is that you want to try and achieve this balance where you're talking with each other as equals. You don't want to talk down to them, but you don't want them to talk down to you either. You want to be a participant, you want to be partners in this. And achieving that in terms of how you talk to each other and achieving that in terms of the way you interact and respect and listening is going to be crucial. So the other side of this is the just listening to them, really listening to them. And this is the kind of active listening that you probably learned about in high school, but that we rarely do, which is that they might vent or just want to talk a lot to you, and because they probably don't get a lot of opportunities to really kind of talk to people who actually listen. And if it's about the kind of issues, you can ask probing questions and just really allow them to vent about the problems. They'll dive into exactly what it is, and they'll get very valuable information coming out of it. Understand from different people in the organization, there are different views in the organization. And that's going to allow you to both know them better and understand their perspective, which will allow you to develop recommendations that they'll accept better, and also make sure that you're getting the best information to feed into exactly what it is that you're going to be analyzing and working on. Okay, the third point here is really important actually, which is understand their constraints and limits. So this is both in terms of what they don't understand databases, but also in terms of their physical staff constraints. And we're going to get into this a little bit more when we talk about implementation. So the idea here is you really want to understand what this organization can and can't do so that you're giving recommendations that will provide value to them that they'll be able to implement instead of giving them recommendations to take over the world when they're actually a staff of 3 people and they're trying to just scrape by as it is. So we talked about the establishing a relationship of equals. The only point here that's new is just it's very helpful, even though you're only 3 to 4 week projects, to share your results with your clients. Try and involve them as much as they want to be involved. And you might need to push them to be more involved if you need that, and they're not necessarily giving it because they're time constrained, so you have to make judgment calls about that. But sometimes it's just really helpful to make sure you run ideas by them, see what they think, because they, again, know a lot more about the context of these issues than you do in their particular environment. And so you'll be able to see when you're on the wrong track for something that you think is a major breakthrough or a major insight. And incorporate their feedback. Corollary to this is before you do your final presentation or turn in your final report, you might want to just run by your final ideas informally. They call this pre-wiring in management consulting, just to make sure that no board member or no organizational person of importance is going to veto you when you actually get up there to present. That's the absolute worst case scenario. And to the extent possible, and if you built up a strong relationship along the way, this is easier, do this so that you can avoid any final day meltdowns. Understand the mission of the organization. This is nonprofit specific, which is these people, they get involved in these organizations. They don't get involved to make money. They can make a lot more money doing somewhere else. They get involved because they really believe in what these organizations are doing. And if you understand only one thing about nonprofits, understand that this is the most important thing to them. If they think that you don't care at all about what they're doing, they're not going to really like you, right? If you don't like them, they don't like you. It's just like if you don't really seem interested, genuinely interested about what they're doing, you're not going to get the level of relationship that you really need from your nonprofit client. So I'm not saying fake it, you know. If you're not interested in orphan children, it's not going to seem very genuine. But find something to get genuinely excited and make sure you know your organization cold from what you know about what you can get on them on the internet, from talking to people. Make sure you've gotten all that done beforehand so you're familiar enough with them to be able to speak confidently and excitedly about what it is that they're trying to do, because that will make them like you more. And it will also give you insight into really what their perspective is and what their motivations are. Ultimately, tie everything. Remember, at the end of every day, you might be analyzing financial results, you might be looking at kind of market studies or doing customer segmentation, or whatever, however you guys approach it. But at the end of the day, whether it's a team or individually, always ask yourself, how does this address our ultimate objective? How does it address the outcomes that we want to achieve? What did I learn today? And it's going to be especially important because you only have 3 to 4 weeks. Otherwise, you can get lost in the details and you're not going to remember what the ultimate goal is. and connect it to what they're trying to do in the mission. And that's going to help you to get relevant results. Last is just earn credibility. How to earn credibility. You guys may or may not be, I know if I put myself back in your shoes, I'd probably feel very insecure kind of going into this client relationship. So know your strengths, know your teammates' strengths, and leverage them to the fullest extent possible, right? Don't try and learn like new skills necessarily, like very complicated new skills over the course of these 3 to 4 weeks. That's not going to be a good use of your time. But know where you can add value as what you've accumulated throughout your life up to this point, and different strengths that different teammates can bring. Know that being a good consultant doesn't always mean saying yes to your client whenever they propose an idea, and have the confidence to feel very secure in your analyses, and know when to bend over and accept feedback and incorporate that, and know when to provide pushback and say, well, actually, from what we see, we haven't, I have to disagree with that conclusion. Because you're not doing them any favors by sugarcoating things. And sometimes that's hard. But if you do your work in establishing a relationship of equals along the way, and you prove yourself by doing flawless analysis, to the extent possible, humanly possible, and knowing your material. Just if you do an analysis, you come into a team meeting, just be able to speak to it, be able to speak to it confidently, be very confident in the work that you've done, and the corollary to that is if you're not sure and you're not at that point, ask your teammates for help. They'll probably be very willing to help you, and that's why you're a team. Questions on this? All right, hypothesis-driven analysis. All right. So, I'll give you an example here. How many of you have heard of hypothesis-driven analysis before? Or answer first? Okay. So I'm from emergency management kind of consulting background, so I always think of this as there's a bomb hidden in Huntsman, but I felt a little weird putting bomb on the slide, so I decided to go with like the positive, find a $100 bill. But in my mind, it's always going to be a bomb. The idea is it's very time constrained, right? You do 10 minutes, or you all go out at the same time to find this $100 bill, bomb. And where do you start looking for it first? It's on this floor, let's say. Anyone have any ideas? Well, that's how you find it. Where do you go first? Like let's say it's competitive. Only one of you can find it, let's say. You find it, you keep it. So where would you go? Back. Okay. So she says, why the bathroom?
Well, when you put it in your pants, but in your pocket.
Yeah. So what she just did there is a hypothesis-driven approach, right? So in this case, she had only a little bit of intuition and no real supporting evidence, right? I didn't tell her anything she didn't know anything about me. She doesn't know anything about when this was hidden. And so she just came out of it I don't know. But the point is that you have to start with intuition about where your answer might be. And then if it's time constrained, you're going to start with the most likely places. And then you're going to deprioritize the places that are least likely, right? That you might be like, well, MES Cafe is super busy all the time, so if there's a $100 bill lying around some place obvious, somebody would have picked it up. So maybe that would be down further on the list. The idea is that as you get more supporting evidence about a given problem, or as you get more business experience or nonprofit experience throughout your life, you'll gain better intuition, you'll gain a better understanding of where's the more likely place to start looking. And so as you get this information, you might say, okay, well, I hypothesize that the money is probably hidden in the GSR case of the Walnut Street entry stairs. Let's start looking there first, because that's the highest probability of success. So in the bomb case, they need to start looking for the bomb somewhere, and they do it based on hypotheses about previous locations of bombs, what the layout of the building is. And that's the information that you're going to start a little bit with, kind of based on what you know right now, walking into it. You're going to gain more information talking with your client in those initial scoping sessions, and you'll be able to structure your analysis based on that, based on your hypotheses. So exactly how you go through and you do this, I have 8 steps for you. So the first is, again, make sure you know the problem. We talked a little bit about that. So the second is brainstorm what are the logical issues. Now logically being, in this case of dollar bill hidden, on the floor, it would be just, all right, so